Hey, my friends. Hope you guys are doing good today. So today's topic is hiding cash and or valuables. And this is a really interesting topic. We've touched based on this topic a few times in the past years, but it's been a long time since we've talked about this. So I thought maybe we could just kind of do a recap and maybe simplify a few things. So there's a lot to be said about this. And in this video, I'm not going to go into great detail of complicated techniques to protect and hide things. If you want me to do that, just let me know in the comment section. And if I get enough people who ask, I'll put together a really in-depth, super complex video on this topic. But most people are not interested in spending a lot of money doing projects, that involve multiple people. They want to do things that they can do themselves and do it on a budget. So I think this is the video here that I'm going to be doing today is going to be more targeted to most people. Like 80-90% of people want something simple, but yet effective. So when it comes to protecting your stuff that has value, at least in your eyes, because there's stuff that, a lot of people may not even have any interest in stealing from you, but to you, it's irreplaceable, right? There's just one of it, and it's special. There's like an emotional connection to that stuff. But generally speaking, though, stuff that is valuable, just to anyone's perspective, is stuff that you want to protect. You never know. You might just be going up to get some groceries and someone is watching your house. And when you leave, someone breaks into your house and tries to take things. And so basically this is for the average smash and grab thief to make it more difficult for them to find the good stuff. And so I kind of have a general thought process on this, is that your valuables should be spread out in your house when possible, in various locations, and also hidden in different manners. Okay. And so that this just means that you shouldn't have all of your wealth in one box sitting in your closet, you know what I'm saying? Or everything of value in a drawer in your bedroom or something. That isn't really smart. You're making it that much easier for the bad guy just to go, oh, everything is in the drawer, and they can just dump it into their backpack and walk out, and they're very successful, right? So you don't want them to be successful in stealing your stuff. And so the first thing that I think most people think of in terms of protecting their stuff is to get a safe. And it's not the worst idea, though, maybe not the best. And for some people, it's just something that you can't afford. It's just beyond your budget. But if you do get a safe, try to do as much research as possible to buy the best safe for the money. I would completely avoid these big box store safes that typically go between $100 to $300. They pretty much give you almost zero protection against a blunt force attack. They might have a fire rating, but when we're talking about safeguarding from other people that may have tools, you want the best you can afford, so that it provides resistance, and resistance will buy you time. So if you do get a safe, regardless of what it is, even though I'm saying try to get the better ones if possible, but regardless of what it is, bolt it down. So many people I've seen over the years, they have a safe, but it's not bolted down. And so the thief can literally just pick it up and just walk out the house with it. And then they can take their time when they go back to their house to open it up with, tools and stuff. So bolt it down, bolt it to the floor, bolt it to the wall if that's an option, whatever the situation. Make it so that it's not something that they can just grab and take with them out the door. Don't make it easy for them. Another thing that you can do with safes is to conceal them. Don't just put the safe out in the open so that if someone was to walk by your window, they could just see there's a safe in that room. A lot of people put their safes under a bed and they bolt them down, or they put them in a closet and they bolt them down. That's better than just leave them out in the open. But conceal it so that it's hard to find the safe. Make it so there's at least a few steps that someone is going to have to move things, or maybe have to explore a bit to even find the safe. So that's something that I would think that would be really helpful. And another level to all of this is to provide to that bad guy, that thief, a decoy safe, which will get them all excited, right? And it may slow them down to the point that they may not even look for anything else, right? So they may never find anything of real value. But a decoy safe could be something that is not hidden, but not completely out in the open. It's up to you about how you want to do this. Some people believe that it's better to have it out in the open, and so it's a real easy target. And so a lot of thieves, they just go for it and they take it and they leave the house. They feel like they have a victory. And so that can kind of, in some situations, play out good. But you don't want to make it too obvious that this is a decoy safe, because this is not something that, is new, to provide decoys. So make it look like it's at least something that is real and not a decoy. And it's up to you if you want to bolt this down or not. I would probably not. But what you can do to give the illusion that this is a real safe being used and there's stuff in there is to get one of those security cables. It's like a wire cable. It's real thick, and but it's easily cut though with a wire cutter or a bolt cutter. And most thieves are going to have something probably to cut that. So, I mean, if you're worried that, it may still be too difficult, you can get the smaller diameter, security cords or cables, and make it even easier for them to cut. And then they'll think, wow, I really do have something. I cut the cable and I'm going to take this. And what you can do also is that you can put a few things in that decoy safe so that if they do kind of rattle it around, there's some things moving around inside. I know some people who put a brick. Some people put a few rocks in there, and some people just put just a bunch of mail, just a bunch of random junk mail. But you definitely want some things that weigh a little bit. So you wouldn't want to just put paper products in there, but you want a few things that will roll around, maybe an old broken watch or something, just some garbage in there. And that'll be good. So a decoy safe. Now, in terms of other safes that you would want to consider using for real, besides a safe that you can bolt down to the floor, for example, there's wall safes that are flush with the wall that you can put a picture over or a mirror, or in some situations, you can, if you're really into carpentry, you can probably design some system that the wall panels could be removable, and when they're in place, they look seamless, and you would never know that there's a wall safe. There's also safes that go into the floor. They're recessed into the floor. These may take more effort to install if you don't have a new house construction project. Like if you're not building a house and putting this in as you build the house, then it's going to be a lot more difficult to put this in, especially if you have like concrete, floors. You're going to have to get some type of concrete saw and cut out, the shape of it and drop it in. And but if you don't have concrete floors, you could certainly, if you know what you're doing, cut out the floor and so forth. I would definitely not let the floor safe just dangle in the crawl space. You'd probably want to reinforce and make a box around that and so forth. So, but it is an option though. Wall safes and recessed floor safes definitely can give you a lot of protection against blunt impact attacks. And also it can be a little more difficult to find, right? They're not so obvious because really not many people have these things, at least the average person. They don't typically have wall and floor safes. They typically, though, they just go with traditional safes that they see at a big box store and they bolt them down, or they don't. And that's what they have. Okay, you also have concealment products, and I kind of look at these as more like concealment containers that are made to be decoys of real things. So, for example, books. There's books that are hollowed out and that are made so that you can put something of value in there and disguise it among your other books. There's concealment fixtures and outlets that you can stash a little bit of jewelry or some cash. There is covert furniture, concealment furniture. Some of this can get kind of pricey, but if you know what you're doing and you can make your own. But definitely there's furniture that have special secret compartments and secret drawers and, spaces in there to use to store your valuables. I think overall, though, to hide things in plain sight is sometimes the better way to go. And using some of these containers, once again, these concealment containers, you can literally hide a large number of things just right out in the open. There's planters. There's these special planter containers that actually have a hidden compartment that is at the bottom of the container. So, you would put your valuables in that container, and then you would put the dirt, over it, and then you would plant your plants. In some situations, you may not want a live plant, so you could go with an artificial plant over it. But basically, there's planters that come in all different sizes that have concealment containers built in. Very cool. Also, there's canned good decoys. Canned good containers, they look like canned goods at least, but they're really hollowed out containers. And the thing about those, though, is that you definitely want to mix those in your pantry, kind of disguise it, kind of just make it so it doesn't stand out. You obviously wouldn't want to have a can of green beans sitting in your bedroom. Why would you do that? So you would want to keep that in your pantry. I think that really the kitchen really does offer quite a few good spaces to blend in things. But just be aware, though, if your canned good weighs like 3 pounds because you got a bunch of stuff in it, and it says on the packaging like 1 pound or 15 ounces or 16 ounces, that could be quite suspicious if you have a really, really heavy can or a really light can, especially if it doesn't match up with the weight on the can. So try to do your best to make it reasonable what you put in there. Okay. Another thing, though, I just want to kind of bring out here is that the fridge and the freezer, and once again, the pantry, they do offer some good hiding places, or at least you can use some of these concealment containers to store things and then you can put those containers into those environments. And it would be really difficult, unless you know what you're looking at, to know if there's something suspicious about all that. Some people take Ziploc bags, or they vacuum seal some cash or some jewelry, and they put it in the back of their freezer, or in the back of, let's say, a vegetable bin in the refrigerator. And once again, in the pantry, there's all kinds of foods there, and you can probably find a few little spaces behind big bags of rice, or among a sea of canned goods, to stash something. A lot of closets too, it's kind of interesting. When you look at a closet, most people don't look up, and they definitely don't look at the space that is kind of the doorway, or the inner doorway, if you will, above the door. The closet door is what I'm saying. A lot of people don't look up there. So it could be a place to stash something really small, is, kind of on the inside of the closet, kind of above the door. And there's a lot of people that stash things up there. You can always make a small ledge, even just to put some things there. But definitely, though, another good place is the attic. The attic is going to be, depending on your house, it could be a really great place to kind of allow something to kind of get lost in the mix of things. And now the attic, though, can be kind of a hazardous place. But there are some people that I know that have an attic that has a nice finished floor, and the insulation is all tacked in, and it's almost like a finished attic, but some places though, they don't really have that. So just be aware, of all that. But if you store things in your attic, maybe you could bolt down a safe in the very back end of your attic, or maybe find a cubby hole to put, a bag of, valuables. Just be aware though, if the house burnt down, then you're not going to have any fire protection, and you could lose whatever's up there. So it's one of those things that it would probably be best, if possible, to have at least some kind of fire bag or a fire box or some kind of fire protection to put this stuff, into, just to help, prevent a complete loss. Okay. And the last thing I want to kind of touch base on here is to bury your goods, your valuables. It's not for everyone, obviously. If you live in an apartment, you don't have any land to bury something in with. So you could always see if you have a friend or a family member that has land, if you could use their property. But I think that, we just have to look at what makes the most sense. And I think that in some situations, if you have land in particular, especially a lot of land, and you can conceal the burying of your stuff easily, like you're not going to have any neighbor watch you do it, in real time. And, then it could be a good option. You may want to consider digging the hole and everything at night. Just kind of, the concealment of night can help you. And I wouldn't go around, telling anybody that you did this, of course. But I personally would probably double or triple vacuum seal whatever it is that I'm going to bury, and even put that into a watertight container. And there's so many different kinds out there. There's some that are made commercially, and then there's some that you can, there's plans out there that you can make your own. You can get like PVC pipe and seal the ends, and that could be pretty good. Just be aware that if you don't bury it deep enough, it could be a problem, especially if it's in a low-lying area and there's a lot of water or drainage in that area. Over time, the container could migrate upwards and pop out the top. This has been known to be a problem, so you can kind of mitigate that by selecting an area that's dry and that has good drainage, and that you just dig it a hole deep enough and you put some things on it so that it kind of makes it difficult for it to want to shimmy its way up to the top. Okay. And so that's about all that I really have to say. Is just that if you do bury something, take notes of where you buried it, especially if you have multiple burial sites. You probably want to have a map with all these sites on it. And you may even want to go so far as to have some encrypted images taken of the site. So take a picture or two at different angles, and just take note of the landmarks in that area. And so, because you never know, you just might forget for whatever reason. We don't really want to admit sometimes that we forget about things, but sometimes we do. So I encourage you to, not forget. And one way is to just write things down or put things in a secure location, that could give you yourself a reference to where you buried something. So I hope all this was interesting and helpful. Thanks for your support. Catch you later.